Hey y'all, this is Aemok,
Madam Hexe,
and Kaitlyn, kayce.
And this is Trouble Comes in 3. This podcast discusses scandalous topics like communication and sexual health, along with kink, leather, and ethical non-monogamy. If you're under 18, please leave us and check out scarletteen.com. For those over 18, welcome and let's get naughty. Okay,
well, let's just get straight to it.
On that note,
Let's dive in with both feet. Oh, I knew I would say I got one.
So funny.
that's going in.
And she says she doesn't have dad jokes. I think Daddy has plenty of dad jokes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
There's plenty of people in my life that enjoy them. I think they're terrible, but there's plenty of people that enjoy them.
Sir really likes them. FYI.
Good. We're talking about feet today, guys. Foot fetishes.
That transition was lovely.
Right.
Yes.
We're talking about feet.
Okay, so foot fetishes.
Mm-hmm. It's like the redheaded stepchild of the fetish world, I feel. In the
Yeah.
sense that I feel like
It
a lot of
doesn't-
people are like, oh, I'm real kinky, I have a lot of fetishes, except feet. And I'm like, why? Why are you calling out feet in particular?
It's also kind of sort of like the
joke
most...
fetish.
Well, it's a little of that, but it's also kind of the most easily to accept for like mainstream like media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess so, because they're like, this is weird, they're into feet, put that in the video, you know, like, or put
Right.
that in the movie, like, oh, he's so strange, can she ever accept him? Because he likes to give foot rubs? Hell yes, I can! I got a long damn
Sign
day!
me
Fuck
up.
yeah.
No, I can see that, I agree though.
Like when we think of like very specific fetishes in media, that's the one that comes up a lot.
Or like the first hashtag is always, if you write fetish, it's going to be like, foot fetish, immediately.
Right.
Which is funny because, like, it feels like every time you meet someone who's into feet, they always start with, I know this is really, really weird, and not a lot of people
they're like
are
apologetic about it.
And they feel like not a lot of other people have it. They feel really embarrassed about it, even though it is one of the more populated ones. Or not, popular ones.
Popular fetishes,
Yeah.
I think part of that is the way that fetish is shown.
Yeah.
The representation.
Yeah.
Because it's shown
yeah.
in a very, like, oh, look at this freak.
It's creepy almost. Like, people make it creepy.
And they're some of they're like the least creepy of the fetish people, I feel like.
They're at least nice.
The vast majority. I think one of the really like kind of prime examples of how foot fetish is shown as both like this really common thing, but also this like you should be ashamed of yourself thing. There is an episode of Sex and the City
Okay.
where I cannot remember which character it was, but one of them was buying shoes as the ladies of Sex and the City go and do. And the salesperson was talking about like reflexology and stuff. And so she was going back to see him because he would do reflexology on her, quote. And like she would get new shoes and everything. And then once she found out that it wasn't as much like, oh,
medicinal, but
let
more,
me do this reflexology, and more like,
I want to rub your feet.
He's getting off on this, even though it's like he's not jacking off in front of her or anything.
He's just enjoying
He's just enjoying it. She immediately cuts everything off. Is like, oh, that's the weirdest thing ever. And I'm like,
is it though?
Did the foot rib feel good?
Right.
It's
like,
Because if the answer is yes.
Is it though? So I guess, for foot fetish, let's back up a little and just talk about exactly what is a fetish. Because I think a lot of people use the terms kink and fetish interchangeably, and they're certainly not the same thing.
mm-hmm.
So we're going to have our librarian get a official definition, but my interpretation of a fetish is a fixation, usually, if not always sexual fixation, on an inanimate object. That's kind of how so it's like foot fetish, red hair fetish, whatever the item or attribute is, fetish. Kink would be more of like the action
Of
that you're doing something.
Yeah, that's how
So
it's
for me,
explained to
foot worship would be the kink, foot fetish, the fixation would be like the fetish.
So the technical definition is for fetish is a form of sexual desire in which gratification is linked to an abnormal degree to a particular object, item of clothing, body part, etc.
Okay.
It can also mean inanimate object worshipped for its supposed magical powers or because it is considered to be inhibited by a spirit.
Oh, so that's when you used to go to like museums and it's like, oh, this ancient tribe's fetish. It's like, no, not like fetish like sexy time, but fetish like it's an imagery, a model. And I think that's where that sexual definition kind of stems from, is that original definition of fetish, where it was like a fixation on a magical object.
Yep.
In this case, we're talking about people's magical obsession with feet.
So fetish is actually like a medical term.
Yeah.
Within, psychology and things like that. Fetishes are abnormalities in sexual attraction, where in some uses it has to become like impeding on your life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's when they're like, oh, well, this is really a fetish.
Right.
More commonly, it's used by the community and such to mean,
I like this thing.
You like this thing.
Yeah.
Now,
we're going to be using that definition. We're going to be like, I really like this thing. Not that I like this thing so much that it's making it that it can't go to work.
Right.
Or exist.
Yeah. The definition of kink, now both of these come from the Oxford Dictionary. Kink is a sharp or twisted curve in something that is otherwise straight.
Okay. Yes.
If it's used as a verb, it's to form or cause a form of a sharp twist or curve.
Right. But that's like kinky curls.
Right.
Not in the lifestyle version of it. Is
But,
it continued definition?
Well, but the kink, the first one, the noun version, is actually exactly how it's applied to kink.
Yeah.
Sex is
curve?
considered...
Linear.
Sex is, in the heteronormative, very vanilla sense, this straight line. And then kinky people go, like, hard left turn.
For these purposes, I'll accept that definition. I think it falls short in defining, but for these purposes, a curve. A sharp turn from the norm. Right.
What?
Do you have some foot fetish facts for us?
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about, how it seems to be, even though it's one of the more popular things in mainstream to be a representation of fetishes, how a lot of people discredit the amount of people that actually have it. Dr. Scaroli in Italy actually did a study where they basically just surveyed some people off of fetish forums, particularly people who had body part fetishes.
Okay.
And so when he did the survey, he estimated they might get around 5,000 of the participants who came back with a foot fetish. In reality, the survey came back with 44,722 members, which was 47% of all of the body part fetishists that came back saying they had a foot fetish.
So loads more people cop to it than they. I think that's always interesting too. It's because it's always in our research we looked a little bit it's more common in men than women. Is it, or is it that just men are more ready to admit that they got a foot fetish than women? It might be partially a societal thing, maybe a wiring thing. I'm just curious what you guys thought.
I think a lot of it depends on where these studies are getting their people from.
Yeah.
Their participants, because probably there is a large amount of male-identified individuals who are online and are on these kinds of sites. Not that there aren't female-identified individuals either, but the ratio is
always a little skewed.
Yeah, ratio is already going to be skewed, so it's going to look like a lot more guys have it. Also, men are taught to own their sexual desires, regardless of whether they are
on the straight and narrow or not.
And the
right.
You're still a dude. You still need to throw it out. Women are generally taught to
not bro it out.
to not bro it out. To be more demure about these things.
Right.
Even if they have a little kink here or there, it's a sexual repression is the name of the game there.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that was part of my question. Do we think some of these statistics on the popularity of men versus women is because men are just more apt to admit it, more men were asked, or is there something maybe psychological or biological that women are it doesn't do it for me as much as it does for others?
Well, then I think it also has to do with how we're looking at foot fetish as a whole, because if we're only looking at foot fetish, the people that want to give the thing, not the people who really enjoy receiving, I think we see a lot of women as the receivers, not only because a lot of the men are the givers, but I think it's hard because I think a lot of foot fetish studies, when people think of foot fetish, they don't think about the person receiving it having a fetish for their feet being touched.
Is that the fetish? How are we
It could be.
That's what I'm asking. Is the fetish defined as I like having my feet rubbed?
Well,
Does that fit with our definition of fetish?
Well, not necessarily having my feet rubbed, but there are people who specifically like having their feet licked, sucked, played with, things like that. Their enjoyment comes from their feet being stimulated. And I feel like that could fall under foot fetish.
But is that, and this is not poking holes in you, I'm just asking for our definitions that we're making here. Is that more just the stimulation of an erogenous zone as opposed to the fetish, that as we've defined it now, as a fixation on an inanimate object that gives you sexual gratification?
Yeah, it's the sexual... So there's a really good quote from Dirty Lola, who is a sex educator based out of New York. She says, fetishes are heavily tied to having a psychological need for these specific objects or acts in order to experience the pleasure and or orgasm. Whereas the kink can add to a sexual experience but isn't necessary to achieve sexual release. In both of those cases, it's a sexual based pleasure with or without the orgasm.
Yeah. So, like, to me, I feel like it falls into that because there are also men who identify foot fetishes who get off on having their toes sucked, things like that. So, like, that's where I'm saying I think it's just something, because you brought up, or just more men than women. I think it's seen as more men because more men like to give it as well, whereas women are often portrayed as the ones giving the quote-unquote service, if you will, of doing the thing, even though they're getting gratification of it. I don't have a better word for that
that's
right
fine.
now.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I disagree on the definition. I don't consider that action to be part of, like, the foot fetish. I consider that more of like for me personally, this is more of like a kink, or this is an action you're doing, or it's part of a stimulation, but I wouldn't personally define it as I have a foot fetish because I can get sexual gratification from having my feet rubbed. I don't have a foot fetish. I don't like feet as an item. I like the massage, but it's not, like, for me, I wouldn't define that as a foot fetish. But you're still okay because that's how you're defining it. I'm not poking holes at you. I'm just saying we're gonna have a difference of opinion on it.
No, it's fine. I don't think I'm verbalizing what I'm trying to get.
No, I get what you're trying to say. I understand what you mean, and I think that's an interesting perspective to have. Okay. Stand your ground.
So I think one thing with the portraying is that there's definitely more media presence for male bottoms, female tops.
Yes.
Engaging in that.
Yes.
And note, both of those people, or only one of those people, can be a foot fetishist.
Right.
Because it's not just about providing, playing with feet and other people's feet. Sometimes it's having your feet played with in whatever method you choose. And there aren't a ton of female, like, I don't know a ton of porn stars or anything like that. I have done girl on girl foot porn.
It's definitely a niche.
But yeah, it's
definitely a niche.
It's definitely not where normal interactions,
right? Where the majority of it.
Yeah,
I would agree. It's not the majority. I mean, I've seen like lesbian foot fetish porn, but it's normally specifically with a domination feel to it, like I'm stepping on your face, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like, I'd say like the lovey kind of foot fetish porn where it's like kisses and tongue and more sensual, as opposed to like, I'll put my foot in your fucking face and you're just gonna take it. That's kind of what I've seen mostly.
I see a lot more of the like sensual kissy stuff side on the, not necessarily amateur porn side, but on the independent porn side. So not on like the big like porn websites or like by the big companies. Right. I see a lot of it like if you're on like the sex work side of Twitter, like there are a lot of people who that's their niche and their whole thing is just like girl on girl, the kissy, the lovey, the caressing, painting toenails, things like that.
I also think that when it comes to like the porn side of the kink, foot fetish is a kink so large that part of the reason it's not on a lot of those main, like when people think of like, oh, these are the big kink websites, is because they have sub-sites
just for this
that are just foot related.
As we learned, there's a dating app apparently.
There's apparently a dating app.
I was like, oh, okay.
it's a really big
I wonder if
demographic.
your face has to be in your profile with the foot.
Probably just your feet.
Probably
I don't
just
know.
that.
We'll have to look at it.
Look, I'm gonna investigate later. Out of curiosity, I gotta know.
So I think that's the other thing is that if you do just a general search for like fetish porn, you don't come up with foot fetish. You come up with the rest of it.
Yeah.
But if you do a search for foot fetish porn, holy
doors
balls,
open.
it's everywhere.
Pages and pages and pages and pages.
And you're right, there's a lot about feet that it's not just one thing about feet that people like. You know what I mean? I think there's people like feet for different reasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's people like big feet, little feet, long toes, short toes, painted toes, you know, and sometimes it's things that go along with feet.
Yeah. Things like high arches, or are you flat-footed, or another one. That, or like going for the things that go along with it, like getting into things like they like sweaty feet, like as they're peeling your sock off and things like that.
Yeah, that is, you know what? I think that's part of it is smell plays a big part into feet fetish, doesn't it? Is a big thing.
Yes.
Which, I mean, you don't knock yourself out. I mean, you might knock yourself out if you try to sniff my foot after a 13-mile run. You might knock yourself out. Right? Totally honest. And, like, my poor boy, bless him, because part of our routine is when I come home, he takes off my shoes and kisses my feet. And I'm always like, hold your breath. He is a brave soldier. What can I say? But, Mark, you did a little looking into some of the things that kind of like the complementary things that go with feetsies, yeah?
Yes. So, two of the most common things that go along with foot fetishism is shoe fetishes and stockings.
Oh,
Ooh,
I
love
didn't even think of
stockings.
stockings. You're right. Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
I fucking love stockings.
it was harder to find specific information about stocking fetishes, like the history of it.
Okay.
But I was able to find a little bit of history on shoe fetishism.
Perfect.
So it's also called retifism.
Retivism.
Yes.
Okay.
Retifism.
Retivism. Okay, interesting.
It's
you got the syntax for that?
yes. It was named after a French novelist,
Of course.
Nicholas Adam Retif.
Okay, that's. I was like, is that Latin? What is that? No, it's talking French.
It's French.
And he's a dirty bastard. I'm ready. Tell me more about this foot guy or the shoe guy, I guess.
So it was noted in his works that he did a lot with foot fetish and shoe fetish.
He was like a novelist?
He was a novelist,
Oh,
yeah.
Write his name down. I want to look him up later.
I have it.
Oh, perfect.
It's Nicholas, Nicholas dash Edme, Edme. I don't speak French. I apologize.
That's fun.
Retif, Retif.
Perfect.
So he wrote quite a bit of material that focused on foot and shoe fetishes.
All right.
Within like
What was the time period for this?
This is 1734.
Okay, nice.
Well, so he was born in 1734. He died in 1806. So
a pioneer is what I'm hearing.
probably, yeah, he was probably writing by like the 1750s.
Okay,
he was writing.
I gotcha.
Figure like 15ish years old. And so people who have a shoe fetish might have a specific type of shoe that they're focused on. Some people are all about very extreme heels.
Yeah.
Some people are about boots.
Oh, yeah.
I do love some boots.
Or the open toe.
Yep.
The sneaky peek.
Like open toe or peep toe.
Peep toe.
Love me some peep toes.
I love peep toes, but I cannot wear them without chipping my damn polish. I don't know. Like, women do it. People do it fantastically, but for some reason I'm like, am I just like walking too hard in the shoe? Probably. I also have kind of long toes. They tend to like slide.
Yeah,
through
that's my
not
problem.
a good look
They just
for
like
me.
go straight
Not a
up
good
it.
look for me. Not a good look for me.
I don't have very long toes.
You do. You have little cute tiny feet.
Yes.
So I have like really long toes. So it doesn't work out very well.
Yeah, I'm not for those who like giant feet. That is
Cute little
not
feet.
my.
So that's not my.
That's my area.
Yeah, we both have really long. You have narrow feet too.
I
Like,
have
those are
very
kinda
long, narrow feet,
Long,
and
narrow
so I
feet,
can
yeah.
wear up to like an 11.5 in women's
Nice.
for some of the shoes.
People into that.
Right? No, I know, and like that, and they're just so skinny.
You do have a
and I
really-
have long toes.
You do have a really narrow foot, yeah.
So in women's sizes, I wear from like a 6.5 to a 7.5, depending.
That's wholesome. I like
which translates into a youth/men's 4.5.
I wear like a 9. 9 to 10.
Wear 9 to 10.
I'll get a 10 if it's like a high heel, because your feet are gonna swell.
Yep.
So I'd rather go up. But if it's like a tennis shoe or something, I'll get like a 9.
Yeah.
Comfy that way.
I generally have to go up a size with like heels or anything where there's going to be more pressure. But yeah,
So we run the gambit here. So if you're a foot person, you know where to find us on social media. So look us up.
So some other examples of shoe specific fetishes or customs, I should say. In 19th century Central Europe, students, in order to show their devotion to their lady, mind you, it's the 17th or the 19th century. So by students, I mean male identified humans,
right? Wealthy ones,
yeah, because ladies weren't allowed to be students.
No.
So male students would show their devotion by drinking either wine or champagne out of their shoe or their like bootleg.
Well, I have a stiletto and a bottle of champagne and a Spielzeug's in the other room. So guess what we're doing later?
I think that's a brilliant idea.
That'll be Patreon content.
Yes.
I think it's very charming though. If you've ever read Phantom of the Opera, there is a scene like that as well in Phantom of the Opera.
So I don't have the exact year.
That's okay. Ballpark it.
But it was AOL search data scandal. So I'm thinking like,
okay,
it's been a hot minute.
Early in the internet ages.
Yes. There was an analysis of millions of queries from the US, which got leaked.
Oopsies.
Yeah. Accidentally released.
Quote, quote.
Quote, quote. And it showed that 64% of the sampled population had preference for objects that are associated with specific parts of the body, in particular shoes, boots, and other footwear.
I'd believe it, honestly. I don't know if I'd go as far to say that I personally have a shoe fetish. I do fucking love shoes. I like having them, wearing them, and seeing them on other people. I don't know if I necessarily get sexual gratification out of them. I just really, really like them. So if we want to define that as a fetish, then yes, I have a shoe fetish. But it's not like one of those things where like I use it for sexual gratification. I just really love them.
Yeah.
It's a gray area. The shoe for me is a gray area. It's kind of like this. Some people might qualify my love of them as a fetish, but whatever.
Some other examples of modern popular culture include the episode of Sex and the City, which I mentioned. Something About Mary has a very obvious shoe foot thing going on. Family Guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so many.
Yeah.
So many. While You Were Sleeping, and the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yep. Which was, I think, hilarious. And that's in a comedy kind of way. And I think what I like about that particular reference is the foot fetish isn't like this dirty thing. It's seen as like that's her power card over her extremely wealthy husband, and she can get him to do anything she wants by putting away her feet or taking her feet out. So that was kind of nice to see a playful but positive representation for foot fetishes.
And one last little slightly historical, but it was in 2009.
I'll have it involved. Keep them coming.
So in commemoration of the tradition of drinking from the shoe, Louis Vuitton, shock, a French shoemaker,
right,
apparently created a glass-shaped slipper.
Oh my God.
And it was, which was critically, reviewed critically in the German daily paper, Die Welt.
I'm looking it up. I gotta see this for myself. Keep going.
That is all about, that beautiful tradition.
I'm looking it up.
Sexually obsessing about shoes.
Looking it
It's
up.
glorious.
Shoe glass. Do it. Oh, I'm gonna get a picture. I gotta see it.
It also plays a role, if you think about the glass shoe, one of the very, very common children's stories growing up, at least here in America, particularly if you are Disney,
Yes.
Disneyfied by your childhood, is Cinderella.
Yep.
That's true.
The whole
slipper.
thing is about the glass slipper.
You know what? He recognized
The
her
perfect
by
foot.
The perfect foot. Forget her. He didn't even see her face.
Nope.
It also showed the power of it.
Yeah.
Because the stepsisters were willing to cut off their heel or cut off their toes.
Oh,
Or
you're
your
talking about the real
That's
version.
the real
Oh,
version.
You said Disney, so I was like,
Well,
that's
Disney
the
does
Disney-
it too. They try to shove their foot in.
They do try to shove their foot in.
Right.
But in the original, yes, you're right. It's far more gruesome. They literally chop their toes off or chop their heel off in order to fit into the shoe. Because apparently Cinderella has my style feet.
tiny feet.
And yeah, probably because she was probably like 14.
Right? Probably, yeah.
Honestly.
Can't find it in a quick search, but I'll look for it later.
But being able to fit into this beautiful sculpted shoe was enough to mutilate yourself. I mean, the fact it got you the king or the prince.
Yeah, I mean, on the whole foot binding thing, Sigmund Freud had a little thing about Chinese feet binding as a fetishism. And I mean, obviously that was very culturally significant, so we're not going to chalk up. I mean, I personally think it was like pretty brutal, but again, not my culture, so I don't get to make those judgments on it. But I know Sigmund Freud had some thoughts on that because he was also a dirty fuck, but
Yeah.
But specifically, you're talking about mutilation for beauty, in feet in particular. Feet have been really important in beauty status for a lot of cultures for centuries, so it's really not that weird, guys.
And, I remember growing up, I definitely wore shoes that I thought, like when I was a little girl, like shoes that I thought were really pretty or very like adultish that I really liked. I absolutely wore them far longer than I should have, which,
Squished your little toes.
squished my little toes. Because of the look of them. Because they looked pretty.
Yeah.
I had a pair of Oxfords that were just...
Yeah, I was thinking like the jelly shoes. The ones that like ate your foot, because if you didn't wear the cute frilly socks with them, they like cut into your foot because they were like plastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never had the problem. My feet
Your feet are small.
my ankles were so tiny and my feet were so small, and that wasn't a thing.
No,
But-
that's just skin and sweat and plastic straps.
Also, a
Not the
pair
best
of Doc
fashion.
Martin Mary Janes.
Oh yeah.
Or Doc Martin style. They were knockoff brand,
Right,
but
that's a good
little
stuff.
Mary Janes from...
Oh, I used to love Mary Jane as well. I used to
It
love
was
Mary
a
Janes
thing.
as well. Fantastic. So yeah, I mean, the whole shoe boot world is, I mean, they're bedfellows with feet. I mean, I wonder how many people if you'd ask, do you have a foot fetish? Yes. Do you have a shoe fetish? If it's yes. Or if it's like, oh, this just comes with my fetish and it's a nice additive, but not necessary. Just food for thought.
I don't know. And I'll say with things like the foot fetish, it's not, or the shoe fetish, it's not always about the shoe being on someone.
True.
Some people are just sexually
the shape.
attracted to like the shape.
The sharp edges or the curve or the color or the material. Yeah, because that's, again, that's the
craftsmanship.
fetish. It's an inanimate fixation on an inanimate object most of the time.
And then the other really common one is the like stockings.
Oh,
or
yes.
socks.
Tell me about stockings, because
Yeah.
I would say I have a stocking fetish for sure.
I
fucking
love stockings. And you brought up, I was like, I didn't even think about that, because like for me, I associate stockings more with legs than the foot.
I get
but
you.
it makes sense because
Like foot
They
job
go
with
over the foot.
nylons?
Yeah.
Hey, way easier because you're not sticking in the sweat. So first off,
Right.
but
I don't think I've ever given a foot job.
ever?
No.
Okay. Well, I mean,
we can
foot jobs on a strap-on take forever.
Right.
Right.
foot jobs on a suction cup dildo also
You know,
fucking
but
forever.
a great calf workout. An absolutely fantastic.
Is that
and the
And
balance,
abs,
like,
yeah, 'cause
oh
you're
my god,
holding
there's so much
yourself up.
ab work.
Oh,
See, I do need to work on my
It's a
abs,
great,
so
it's a
okay.
great workout, and it'll make great content.
It'll
you can
make
film that shit, and it's just like starting a fire when you get tootsies. I do love nylons though. I like them fishnet. I like them full. I like them patterned.
I
I
like
like,
the way
them
that-
opaque. I like them clear. I don't know if it's I love the look, but also
I like the way they feel on me.
when like my own thighs rub together, or like when I
Yeah.
run your hands over
And I
stockings.
think that's why I associate them more with legs.
And they
because
do make a little sound.
Yeah,
when
the
you,
sound's
the sound.
nice.
They kind of.
But it's a pleasing sound.
It's not like the squeak like that plastic rope shit. It's like a little. It's like a little whisper. I like it a lot.
So, stockings and socks kind of overlap, but at the same time, kind of really don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are people who are all about stockings
All about stockings.
and have no fucks for
No fucks for socks.
socks.
I
of
like
any
my-
sort.
I really don't.
I like wearing.
I like knee-high socks.
I think they're cute, but I would not say I have a sock fetish
No.
because of them. I just think they're aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
I have a sock fetish.
Oh yeah.
And stockings.
Oh, I want to hear about the socks. Tell me what it is about the socks you like.
So, it's so funny because you guys know, I almost never have shoes that require socks.
Right.
Ever. Like,
And I'm always in socks.
Yes.
Protecting my moneymaker.
So, y'all know the size of my antique dresser.
Yes.
It is not small.
Mm-hmm.
There's an entire
Drawer full of socks.
entire drawer is full of socks and stockings.
I do have a stocking and stock drawer, but my drawer is not as big as that. Mine's the little one in the closet.
It's like, what, like a foot and a half deep?
It's
3 feet wide?
It's an armoire. Okay, like it's a big fucking like it's.
I think armoires have like doors on
I guess
them.
maybe yeah, but it's massive. Yeah.
It's
not a
okay.
small
It's as
dresser.
tall. It's almost as tall as I am.
Yeah, it's not a
Which is-
small dresser.
no.
It's basically a bureau at this point. It's big.
Yeah. I would say bureau. I would
Bureau,
go with
okay.
that. Like armoires, I feel like they need doors.
They need doors.
But yeah, and actually my stockings were why I bought that dresser.
Really? Because you had so many.
Well, I was specifically looking for an antique dresser at the time.
Right.
And I really wanted something that possibly had like a divider system in it.
Right.
And that one did.
Oh, well, perfect.
Because that way I can have like my daily socks.
I have my
Like-
the nylons. I have the regular socks, and then I have like the fancy ones.
I have like, so mine is split up between my regular socks, which include like my service socks.
Right.
My
Uniform
white
socks.
uniform socks are in like the first one. And then the middle one is like knee highs and leg warmers.
Oh, I love leg warmers. I like wearing stockings in winter with leg warmers over my boots.
I have a pair of fishnet leg warmers.
What?
That have a stirrup
That's
style
adorable.
foot.
I love it.
Yeah,
This is
they're
the child of the 80s
useless.
right here. Who
Oh,
cares?
yeah.
It's a
So
the
useless.
stirrup
But they
look over
feel-
high
they're
heels.
so cute.
Yeah, the stirrup
Yes.
over high heels. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the third drawer is all stockings. I don't have a lot of garter belts. I only have like one or two.
I think I have literally one garter belt.
Because of my size,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to find a garter belt.
I have a fucking
That fits me.
high-waisted garter belt. Like
Oh
it's like a full-waisted.
I would fucking love one of those.
I love it.
I don't have one yet.
I will be on the lookout.
But I
Your
have.
tide's coming.
I do really like garter clips.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have quite a few sets of garter clips
gotcha.
or garter wraps.
Okay.
But I have everything from like really, really dainty, very sheer, with little black polka dots on it. Very, very fine. I don't know what they're like, mid calf,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
like that height.
Yeah.
For someone who has a kink about it, I don't always remember the names because
She's like, I'm too fascinated by them to.
also brain fog.
Right.
But yeah, they come out about to calf, mid calf,
Right. Yeah.
just under, and they have a black band around the top
Oh, cute.
and a little black bows on the backside.
Aw, that's cute.
They're super adorable.
Nice.
And then I have fishnets in a variety of styles. I love
Big holes, little
Yeah.
holes.
Love fish.
big holes, little holes, patterned holes. You know, ripped up ones because
Yeah.
sometimes you want to look distressed.
I just want to look a little extra rad today. I will wear my fishnets until there's the holes too big and they fall off.
And most of my fishnets are actually thigh-high fishnets. That have like just the finished edge. They don't have any
I gotcha.
grippy grip to
Yeah.
them. Because I can use my like cute little clips.
I
which
gotcha.
add to level.
I love the look of thigh highs. I just can't keep them up. So
I like the
I love wearing long term. I love full body tights. I love full body stockings.
The nice thing about so thick girl thighs do not like keeping stockings up.
Oh, they're rolling,
Oh, rolling,
rolling down the
the,
river.
like, the whole
All
thing.
the way down.
And so that's why I love the clips because like my favorite pair of clips is a black and white stripes, like thin vertical stripes.
And it goes is it what I'm thinking of where it like straps around your thigh?
No,
what does
they
it clip to?
connect to so they
Like
have
your
alligator
underwear?
clips
Like
on
to your
both sides.
underwear? Oh.
So I wore them
So
actually.
you're making a garter belt out of your panties, basically. Okay, because I was
my-
thinking like the strap. I was like, I still think, how does that not hold on your thigh? All right, now I know what I'm visualizing it now.
I can do the straps. I have a couple of the straps as well. I don't think they're as cute or as secure for me
no.
because they have to be so tight to try to like.
Yeah.
just makes me look like sausage.
And it's not like a long-term wear thing. Like, if it was for a photo shoot, it's one thing, but I want to wear that all day. Forget
But
it.
when we went to Halloween Horror Nights a couple years ago, or was that
year before?
last?
No, last year after.
Who cares?
There was a year that we went to Halloween.
Right.
God, 2020 has been so long.
Yeah.
When we went to Halloween Horror Nights, that's how I kept my stockings up because I was wearing them.
I gotcha.
So if you look the picture of like our butts in front of the window, I've got my stocking clips.
Okay, I gotcha. I'm gonna look at that again. I'm gonna look now.
But
so tell me about the socks, though. I want to know, because since you like socks, and we're talking about like accoutrements to feetsies. What's different about the socks from the stockings, or in your brain, are they kind of similar enough to be on the same boat?
I think for me, it's it depends thing.
Right.
For more general public, I think it has to do with material and coverage.
Okay, yeah.
So socks are glorious. Stockings are glorious. They go everything from like no show invisible.
Yeah. It's like opaque.
To, ankle, to mid calf, to like
over the knee.
There's knee high, and then there's over the knee, and the difference between that is one comes right at the like base of your knee, just above your calf, and the other one goes just over your knee, right before your thighs. And then there's thigh highs, and then there's full size. I think there might even be one size in between.
Probably. That's called a bodysuit.
Pretty much.
I do love good body stockings, though.
The big difference is the type of material.
Okay.
So
do you
socks,
like really fluffy sockies, or do you like more like sporty sockies, or you don't really care?
I like cute socks.
Like cute socks. Okay, that's fair.
I like cute socks.
I got my math socks on right now. got my math socks.
I like those. I do love a pair of geeky socks.
Yeah, well, I have my Pythagorean socks on here, and my my Edgar Allan Poe polka dots, polka dots, because it's just Poe's head over and over again. I'll show you after this.
I'm kind of really happy about that, y'all.
I saw them and I was like, look. And my partner was like, I don't get it. I was like, it's Poe. Is that like Edgar Allan Poe? He's like, yeah. I'm like, they're polka dots. He didn't get it.
That one. I'm not shocked by.
Surprised.
That one I'd be like, excuse me?
I think he was there when I bought them.
Also that.
Yeah.
So stockings tend to be very fine, even thicker, like ones that are made for like warmth.
Right. Yeah. Winter ones. Yeah.
They're a very slick, sleek material, and it basically is like a second skin on the body. Socks are a little thicker a lot of times. There are people who are super into like specifically athletic socks.
Okay.
And like the soccer socks,
like the long
long
knee highs.
highs. Yeah, they're
They're sporty knee highs is what they are.
Right, they're athletic knee highs.
Yeah.
They're knee highs that guys can get away with without feeling weird because they're sporty.
Yeah, it's just sporty. Okay, whatever.
But they tend to be cotton or some blend of that.
Right.
They tend to be thicker. They tend to be opaque.
And you don't really forget you're wearing socks. I don't, because you can move in the sock a little more. Like there's room inside of it. Like I'm wiggling my toes on the table thinking about it. Like
I just started to say what you're talking about.
I am, and I'm not wearing socks tonight.
Right. Well, take it. But like when you're in stockings, because it is like a second skin, there's not that same kind of movement within the encasement. But with socks, I'm like, you can move in your socks, and you can almost feel like, oh, I'm still in this little cocoon. It's nice. What?
Oh, you were saying like within, like for stockings, for me, it's more the feeling on the outside rather than like.
No, but I'm saying comparatively, like as a difference between socks and stockings is like you can move around inside a sock. Inside a stocking, you can grab it and try to yank it a little bit and not tear the whole thing.
So some people really love it on someone else. They love that texture and the feel. Some people like the disconnectedness that it can provide.
Okay. Almost like a barrier.
Right. So safer foot sex. I'm rubbing your foot, but I'm not actually touching your foot.
Yeah.
Like there's that
a barrier there.
Okay.
I have known a couple of people,
which could go both ways. Like, you're denied touching my skin, and you're like, oh, I wish I was touching it, or I'm not really sure if I want you touching my actual foot. So it could go either way.
Yep.
Like that.
And then some people, like me, like the way they feel on me or the way they look. I like the feel of them. They feel nice.
Yeah, nice and fluffy.
They, you know, I think they look really cute. I can pair them anyway from like athletic hiking, leather girl, schoolgirl.
She's like, anything my heart
all the
desires.
things I can find. Like
I can find a sock for the occasion.
Shit. I have warm weather Harley Davidson socks.
Adorable.
They're over the knee. They are amazing for
Long
riding.
ass socks.
They are warm as fuck. And they are phenomenal on the bike when it's like
cold.
You're riding and it's only like 47 degrees out. That's not that bad until you're riding 100 miles per hour.
Right. Then it's very
Then
cold.
it's terrible.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I was like, why are these socks that long? Oh, okay. I was like,
That makes
the
sense.
chaps are for. But that's a totally different fetish that we will discuss another time.
And I don't have chaps yet.
That's true. That's true. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So for you like wearing the sockies.
I do.
But for you, it's not really about the foot though. It's about the sock.
Right.
Yeah. Same. I just like the material.
So I actually, kind of jumping topic and starting. My first encounters directly, me involved in with foot fetish of any sort, was with a swing partner that I had, and he was very sweet and very polite about it. And we were in a hot tub at a party, and he's like, "Would you mind if I did this thing?" Now I knew he was a foot guy.
Okay, so you had a little bit of a heads up.
Right.
And do this thing, he meant like rub your feetsies?
He wanted,
like fuck your foot?
Can I rub your foot? May I suck your toes?
Okay, gotcha.
Like, eased me in, which was great.
Right, yeah. Maybe don't go straight for like fucking the arch of the foot. Like maybe work into that.
And while parts of it felt good, parts of it felt weird. Like, it's a very ticklish, it's such a highly sensitive part of your body.
Nerves, yeah.
I was really aroused, not necessarily by him playing with my foot, but by how much he
enjoyed doing it.
Like, enjoyed it, how enthusiastic, and honestly, how hard his dick got, because damn.
You're like, oh, all that from just my feet? Look at me.
Baby's arm holding an apple. Swear to God.
And you're like, so you got yours, can I get mine now?
This is the person that eventually dislodged my IUD.
Oh, that's same guy.
Same guy. But that
kind of salute you.
But you know, that was kind of my first personal interaction with somebody who really enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, one, I'm not that weirded out.
Right.
It was never on my red list, but it was kind of like I don't necessarily have any interest in doing this. Two,
that could be nice.
I kind of like the toppy aspect of it, and I kind of like the yes, worship my feet.
Yes,
on your knees, that would be fantastic. Thanks. That like toppy dominant role of it.
Yeah.
And then as the years went on, I ended up doing foot porn, and
it evolved.
Yeah, and it was just something that I became more and more comfortable with. I don't necessarily have a thing for it.
Right, like personally. Like you wouldn't maybe choose to be like, let's do foot stuff today.
Right.
But I don't comfortable doing it in a professional setting or...
Well, if I had a partner who really liked it, totally be down.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's just I don't personally I mean, I think my feet are cute.
Yeah, but other than like your partner's enjoyment, it's not really like doing anything strictly for you.
No, it doesn't really bring about a lot of sexual stuff unless my partner's really getting off. And then that part of it.
That's more of kind of like transference of sexy time.
I've also been told, so we were both dancers.
Yep.
But I didn't start on point until I was more of I was an adult.
Okay.
And so my feet don't look like most dancer feet.
Right, then I'll beat up.
Yes, they are not beat to crap because I was not allowed to go on point when I was younger. I did it when I was 18.
Right. So your foot developed before you started beating up too much.
I had a little more calcium in my bones.
There you go, yep.
But so I have dancer's feet when it comes to like strength and structure, but then I don't have like the mangledness of girls who started really young.
And continued to
do it, yeah. So
ballerina feet, I think, is definitely a specific foot fetish.
Yeah,
that is
ballerina and probably marathoner foot. Marathoner foot, like run a couple marathons in my life. Not the prettiest thing I think afterwards.
What about you?
So you were like, it's never been on my list. Feet were on my red list for a really long time. Like, I hate my feet being touched, not to the point that I can't like go get a pedicure, but I have to like brace myself and hold the arms of the chair to not kick them in the face when they go to like scrub it, because my problem is
that because you're ticklish?
I'm so ticklish. But as far as like
I have to sit on my hands too because it tickles.
But as far as like people,
I have to hold my phone because that part, that is the worst. I love pedicures. That I'm just like,
but I'm like, I need it. Get in there.
Right. But like for as far as like with partners
for us after this freaking
quarantine. Right. They're rough. Let's not talk about. If you're into rough callous feet right now, hit me up.
Quarantine.
They're there.
We're doing our best, but we just don't have the tools.
But as far as like partners and stuff, like I don't like a lot of the things that necessarily go along with it. Like I wouldn't want anybody to suck my toes just because I don't like people. Either. I hate.
So you don't like your feet being touched, and you don't like tongues. So sucking and licking's probably.
I can maybe do like a foot rub sometimes if it's very very firm.
I mean, you get mad when the cat gives you like a little lick on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah.
Or toe.
That is startling.
I hear her from the other side of the house. Mood!
But like I hate tongues. Uh-huh. I don't really like my feet being touched. It makes me self-conscious, not in like self-conscious might not be the word, but like
is it because you're ticklish and you're afraid you're gonna kick somebody, or do you feel like your feet are gross, or do you just
feel like my feet aren't the best they could be? Like
but
I feel like
I think that's normal. I think there are quite a few people out there that think feet are just kind of icky in general, so even their own feet, they're like, oh no, don't touch them.
Yeah, and so like it's just kind of a combination of all of the things, and so like it was on my red list for a really long time, but like it's not necessarily on my red list anymore for the sole fact that like
the sole fact.
This little because of the fact,
the singular fact
that I really want to try bastonado, which is caning of the feet.
Okay,
and so like I can't have them on the red list and then have that because
that's true.
Anything with my foot would be a red. So like, I'm open to the idea, and so
we need to seriously strap you down.
For me, I can do it in the sense of like I can do pictures all day. Like I can take really cute pictures of my foot. I like the wrinkle. I have a very high arch, and I have very long narrow things, and I have very very long toes. Mm-hmm. And so like aesthetically, my feet are very pleasing. There are pictures I take where I'm like, wow, my feet look really sexy right there.
Like my feet look good.
Right, but as far as for like the physical aspect of the foot
you're
fetish,
a look but don't touch.
Yeah, I'm a look but don't touch. Except maybe give me a foot rub if you accept the risk that I might kick you in the face.
What you thinking, aemok? You look naughty.
It was naughty.
Oh, I'm ready.
We started to test the waters of her feet getting hit.
You know, on our trip together, didn't we?
The trip, but also the back to school party.
True.
All it took, we didn't have to strap her down. We just had to put her squish on top of her.
That's true.
And then tie their hair, like braid their hair together.
Oh, and you couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, because when I would yank away, I'd hurt her. I felt bad.
But she's also a masochist, so she probably didn't feel that bad.
No, she did not.
She did not feel bad. But yeah, okay.
But yeah, because
we'll just toe the line a little bit. There you go. That's for you as a treat. As a treat. Thinking about foot fetish. So I think when I initially started doing foot fetish stuff, I think the part that made me most uncomfortable was the olfactory sense. The folks that were like, I want to smell your feet, and not only do I not care if they're sweaty, but I want to do it after you've been playing in these boots for 2 hours in this dungeon. And for me, I'm like, not trying to knock it, mate, but I think that's gross. So initially it was like, ooh, like I'd bring baby wipes and I'd like want to wipe down my feet and stuff.
And they're like, no,
that's like they still want to rub your feet and get in there because they still have the foot fetish, but a huge part of it was stinky foot smell.
There's a lot of people out there
and socially
who buy
stinky socks.
Go to the gym for the week, use the exact same pair of socks all week, and then buy them for $50.
I had a few. So like I do sell items and things like that, and I had a few people who were like, "Yes, I want to buy your socks." I was like, "Cool." They're like, "I really want you to work on them." And I was like, "Okay, sure." My problem is my feet don't sweat.
She doesn't really sweat.
She doesn't sweat much.
Well, I don't sweat much in general, so like my feet are like non-existent, and I had an issue because I wore them for a week and did like the pictures every day, and like watch
them get dirtier, quote.
And I sent them, and they're like, did you Febreze the bag? I was like, no.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, well, I don't have that fucking problem because I'm a sweaty German horse. So if you like that shit, don't ask Kaitlyn. Ask me instead.
Yeah, I felt bad because I was like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Do you want your money back? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'll give you a refund if they're not what you wanted.
He was like, no, because I still took the socks. And he's like, I like the socks.
Okay, well, you know, discount on your next video, I guess. I don't know. Like, work with me a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I thought they smelled, but it's because they didn't smell like laundry detergent because I'd been wearing them for a week.
Yeah, I definitely used to be very uncomfortable with the people wanting to, like, really, like, get up and smell the shoe that I had been in. And I'm like, are you sure you don't want it? They're like, yes. And I was like, okay, as long as you're sure, because I don't know if I can watch you do it right now because I'm making me a little anxious. But kind of got over it a little bit. I mean, still, like, because there's, like, this social thing. Like, you don't want to have stinky feet. Like, socially, it's unacceptable. But in a specifically fetish environment, guess you do. So it's still, like, it's one of those things where, like, if you want to sniff my feet, I'm probably not going to stare you down while you do it. But I'll allow it. I'll just pretend to be ignoring you and that you don't exist while you sniff my feet.
Which they probably
Which for some people,
too.
it works out too, because I think there's definitely, I think sometimes for when it comes to playing with feet, the factor of humiliation or you're beneath me, because we stand on our feet. And what's beneath us goes under our feet.
For me, that's like
kind
the
of feeds that.
only real tie I have to feet is I love being under someone's feet, whether it's them stepping on me, staring at me, be a footstool, because it's that like power dynamic of you're literally under me, but it's definitely not about the foot. It might be about the boot.
Might be about the boot. I would buy boot.
Boots are towing a line for me, and maybe stilettos are a
still my joke. No, I'm just kidding. Well, should we talk a little bit about different playtime with feet? A little bit. Do you have time for that? Do you think?
Yeah. Let's see.
Because I'm gonna chop off a little bit, but
wait, what happened? Did it? Okay, is it still doing the thing? No, it had like a thingamajig. Okay, thank the gods.
I was like, oh no, what if like the internet's out and somehow that fucked up your computer?
No, there was like a message I had never seen before. And it was like,
I was like, well, this was still a fun
feedback.
conversation. We can revisit this another time, guys.
Like, okay, we're gonna have to do this some other night. No, we're still good. Okay. Yeah.
Playtime, different kind of playtime. How do we, maybe not necessarily how to get into feet, because if you're into feet, you already know, but like different kind of ways to play with feet and kind of explore the fetish.
So I think one way we've talked a lot about is massages, licking and sucking. Those are the types of foot fetish that people
like
see.
The sensual kind of.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I was going to say one that came to mind is tickling, because feet are very ticklish for a lot of people, and I see a lot of foot fetishists who have a foot tickling fetish.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm just like, I can never do it because I'm super ticklish and will end up like hyperventilate crying because it tickles, and also I might.
And I thought you were into breath play.
I am.
You don't want to die from giggling?
I am, but it turns into me accidentally apparently being claimed as topping because I violently thrash and end up hitting everyone in every.
Which is why we strap you down to a table. I don't see a problem here.
Put a squish on top of her.
Okay, you see what you're talking to here? You think we're not going to restrain you first? We'll put a pin in that. I'll revisit that later. So tickling. And then
can I just pull the pin out of the drop? It's okay.
I would like to point out
this is the ASMR portion of the. Couldn't tell the glass, you silly goose.
I can't.
I would have poured it for you. No. I would have poured it for you. From the kindness of my heart.
No.
She's like, not do myself.
No.
Okay, so tickling, and Aemok was talking about the sensual kind of more commonly represented or known ways to play.
So tickling, licking, massaging, sucking counts in there too.
Yeah.
But let's get dirty. What about foot jobs?
Oh, yeah. Which is, like a hand job, but with feet. So it's literally using your feet to cup this. Typically a penis. I suppose you could do it. You could,
Well, I mean, like, boot humping's a thing. So I don't see why you couldn't do similar with just, like, the bare foot.
It's true. I bet my ankle would be tired swishing back and forth over that clit that long. But doable.
That's why you make them do it just, like...
They have to do it to you.
Yeah, I know, but don't push pressure on my ankles. Get off my foot.
So, foot jobs can be really interesting because you can do them in so many different, like, maybe because I have crazy monkey toes and they are hyper dexterous.
I like to go underneath the shaft and use your 2 front toes to grab that little frenulum and like pull a little bit, and then you got them by a lead.
The taint right behind is also really great. You can use your feet to, I mean, if you look at your arches, put them together.
It looks like a little...
It kind of looks...
It's a tunnel.
Like a tunnel.
It's a tunnel. Kaitlyn's like, really?
Oh, yeah. But that, if they have an arch at all, you'll kind of have a shape that is familiar.
Right. Consertable.
Squirt a little bit of lube in there.
Or wear stockings.
Oh my gosh, she's...
Not to the foot, not to
It's
the
the
penis.
lube.
It's the lube.
Sorry.
She's like a little to the penis, but mostly to the lube.
Mostly to the lube. Oh.
So if you have a problem with lube, like Kaitlyn does, stockings, as we discussed, or even socks, make great friction reducers.
Condoms work too.
Condoms work too. They
as long as...
unlubricated condom?
No,
Her problem is the lube.
But with a lubricated
Yeah,
condom,
it's so little.
the lube is mostly on the inside.
That's true. That's true. So yeah,
It's
so
not-
there are
yeah.
alternatives to gushy sticking.
That also means that you don't have to touch the penis.
Yeah, because it's got a barrier. So they go.
And so you can use your feet and your ankles to rub and massage and adjust pressure and things like that. You can use
Squish
your
a little
toes.
bit.
I was thinking flat on stomping,
Right,
but
you know,
I mean,
that's a whole ball busting and stomping.
That's
and
a whole
crushing's
nother-
We'll have to do a whole CBT category.
if you have a female who wants to get a foot job, though, again, this might be because I have crazy dexterous feet. However, if you lay them on their back and put your foot just in front, you can use like a gas pedal motion with like a little flick of your toes on the way down to stimulate around the clitoris and the mound, which can be super, super great.
It's super fun, and because it's different, it stimulates your brain in a different way. It's something new, so it tends to be a little more exciting because it's not something that's done all the time.
And if you are going to do insertion of your foot in an orifice,
Please trim your nails.
Oh,
you need to trim your nails.
clean your feet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Clean your
They
feet.
need to be clean and like no gunk underneath, no sharp edges to your nails.
This is an environmental safety concern.
Yeah, make sure that the edges of your nails are filed so they're soft.
You can put a little glove finger over it.
Yeah.
There's ways to do this, but yeah, if you're gonna do it well. I mean, you're gonna ho responsibly.
One of the best like ways to do this, internal condoms.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Because so what an internal condom is, or what a lot of people call a female condom,
Right.
that is just a term.
Right.
It can be used on any
hole.
any body's orifices, anal or vaginally. And it creates it's got a ring that sits on the outside and a ring that sits on the inside.
It creates like a little, I don't want to say like a little zone. like a little military zone. Little war zone.
Yes. It's the demilitarized
Yeah,
zone
that's what I was
of
looking for. I was like,
the orifice.
what's it called? Like the hot zone? I don't
Yes.
know.
No, the demilitarized, when nobody's giving anybody any shit.
Right.
Hot zone is like everyone is giving everybody
true,
shit.
that's
We
true.
don't want that.
No, yes.
And the nice thing about that is you still have to keep your nails clean. You still have to keep them trimmed.
Right.
You don't want like gunk and shit.
No.
If you
Foot
have,
fungus is the thing, and
Foot
nobody
fungus is
should
the
want
thing.
that in these orifices.
also, if you have like a wart or something on your foot,
It's
you
a
can give
virus.
that to your partner,
Because warts are viruses.
and that would be really terrible.
but there is a risk for virus transmission.
Right.
For wart. Period.
So, there are risks. The internal condom means that the orifice itself has a barrier all around.
Yeah.
It also means that the foot has a barrier all around. It doesn't feel that weird.
No.
Like, honestly, once you're in there, it's like, squirt a little lube.
You'll want for the insertion to probably put a little.
Yeah. Put a little bit of lube on your footsie, into the internal condom. Life is great.
Yeah, I agree.
The nice thing about that is that you can also like go back and forth between like a toy and your foot, and
Exactly.
and they'll stay clean.
Get creative.
Yes, get creative.
Get creative.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah.
One of my like freak abilities is to give a blowjob while also giving a foot job
Just crunch over.
because I can bend in half.
Yeah, I mean, I can bend fairly well. I just probably don't want my face by my own feet. That's personal preference, though.
Yeah.
You don't mind.
It's not a
Yeah,
thing.
if you don't mind, it works out fine. But I'm like, nah, I don't really want to be there.
My feet end up by my face a lot.
Yeah, you're used to it. I'm like, nah, I don't want to be there.
It's not.
See,
that
for me,
big.
if any feet are going to be near my face, I want them to be my own. Like I've done like
you
my.
can binge you and have to.
I've done like my own, like I'll suck my toes for a video,
Right.
but I don't know that I would let somebody else suck my toes.
That's fair.
Like
You know, someone might enjoy just watching you do it.
that wasn't sucking, that was licking.
Somebody might also enjoy watching her expressions as I threaten to lick her toes.
True story. True story. That could be good content. Like,
Don't like.
I think it's hilarious.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, ma'am.
But I think there's another kind of piece of foot play that I think we should tap on since we're talking about putting our feet on things. People like feet in their faces. Not just in the I'm gonna lick your foot kind of way, but like this concept of trampling.
Yep.
I would qualify as a foot related fetish. Trampling in the South. Yes, it's kind of like domination, and yes, it can kind of like border the macrophilia stuff, but I think what's really great about it is foot focus.
Mm-hmm.
What, Kaitlyn?
Another one that I just popped to my brain that I completely is not necessarily your feet on them, but watching somebody step on things in the way that their foot smushes things. So like cake stepping, balloon popping,
Yeah,
like
trampling, stomping,
trampling on
yeah.
like the foods. Like that's a really big one.
I definitely loop like smushing food bits and random objects into the trampling kind of personally into the trampling zone, like because I'm stomping like a little pony.
For someone who does not like food play, I can do food smushing.
It's far from me. It's
diff-
far from me.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
That's one of the few types of food play that I can get like
and
personally get behind.
Only professionally. I don't like to do that personally, but professionally, if you want me to step in some chocolate cake, I'll do that. That's fine. It's kind of squishies. I mean, you have to buy the cake, but I'll do it.
So years and years and years ago, at FetishCon, there was, and he was there for years, every year, and I always knew where I would find this guy.
Yeah.
In front of the bar,
Okay.
laying down.
Oh, I was like, I'm usually in front of the bar too.
Right, but you were not laying down in front of the bar.
Not unless I've fallen.
No. Takes a lot of bar time.
Somebody better catch me.
So
Was he like the bar mat?
yeah. So he loved being the like mat in front of the bar to put your order, and so his thing was he wanted to be stepped on. The pointier the shoe, the better.
Okay.
Like he loved feet, he loved shoes, he loved being this inanimate object.
Right.
Yeah,
and it was
objectification.
awesome to watch him interact with people. Because, like, it wasn't about necessarily looking up the skirt. Like, well, I don't
I mean,
know,
I'm gonna look if I'm down here. And
Right.
That's a risk I assume standing on a man on the floor
But
as well.
a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to. He's like, no, I really want you to. Please.
Please. I mean, if
That
you're
was,
not
like,
comfortable, that's fine. But I'm enthusiastically expressing my consent.
Interesting. He didn't have any legs.
He had legs?
No.
Oh, like to the knee or like all the way, just torso?
I don't remember, but I
I'm not
do
trying to be
remember him not
disrespectful.
having...
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just trying
but
to...
if I am remembering correctly, which I'm fairly certain I am, he didn't have legs. Like...
I have a comment and it's very in poor taste, so I'm not going to say it.
Yes, if you are that dude...
If you're the bar mat guy,
please email us.
please email us. We have some
at
questions.
tci3podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah,
we would love to talk to
We
you.
have some questions. And, please. Burning question.
So, I think what people really should grab out of this is that foot fetish and foot related fetishes like shoes and stockings and things like that are way more prominent than you think of, even in like quote vanilla worlds.
Right.
It's nothing to be ashamed of.
We do need to stop as a community making fun of the foot fetish people, because you see that a lot. Like we
Yeah.
just mentioned in the beginning, it's always like, oh, I'm into a lot of shit, but not feet. And I'm like, well, you're not better than them.
Right.
There's also a lot of separation between like the foot fetish people and the spanking people, and then the rest of the kink world.
Yes.
We're all kinky fuckers.
Right.
We're in the same boat here, okay? So be nice.
It might not, just like so many other things, it might not be your kink.
Right.
but it's okay.
Right.
And I think we need to start normalizing that and not being as weirded out or being like, oh, you're just into feet.
Right. Like because they're not into 47 things and getting shocked by a car battery doesn't mean they're not kinky. Like, they like feet. Leave them alone.
Right. Or, oh, you could say, oh, you just like latex outfits.
Right.
That's only one thing.
That's
like,
only one thing.
But
Yeah,
there's entire conventions around just latex outfits.
Yeah, awesome. And it's just as valid.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I really think we need to work on destigmatizing it.
Yeah.
Making it less weird, quote.
Right. That always boggles my mind.
It does. I think for a lot of like educators specifically, we're like, I don't get why other people are like this, but it's really common.
It's very prevalent.
We wouldn't have brought it up if it wasn't a problem, I think,
Right. So I really think that, this is a wide range of things. It's not just about getting foot jobs. It's not just about,
sniffing toes.
damn near swallowing a foot.
Right.
Or,
Oh, sorry. I just had to thought because my feet are so long and narrow, someone probably could deep throat my foot, and I don't like that.
She's like, red.
I just like that. I'm like, how would that feel? No, don't want to know.
Tickle his tonsils with your toes. Tonsil tickling toe.
There you go. She's like, oh, no.
She is now purple. So...
Well, on that note, remember,
trouble comes in 3.
And get fucked.
Can you pick up your glass for
Tink, tink, tink,
tink, tink?
And ASMR you in there. Just